obvious key factor to latte art is the pitcher. This is the tool in the artist's hand, and it is there's a couple of critical key factors about the shape of a pitcher that will enable you to do latte art. There's a lot of pitchers out there, and some of them have the wide brim, and that's really difficult. You're not going to be able to get an articulated stream to really draw into the crema with your milk foam. And so one thing that you want to look for is, number one, if it's a spouted pitcher. This is going to obviously funnel that stream of milk into a fine concentrated stream, which is going to be like the stylus that you're going to be using to draw with. The other key factor is you want to have a wider base, a wider bottom, because as you're steaming, you want to be able to create a circulating current, which is going to roll all of those fine micro bubbles into the milk over and over, which creates that ideal foam. So as you can see on this pitcher, this is more of the standard pitcher that you see, and it's got a wider base, a nice rounded bottom, but a very, very nice spout.
Now, hold on. You and I both have worked for major coffee chains.
Right.
Which will remain unnamed. I've worked for one major coffee chain. You've worked for a different major coffee chain. And they didn't have these. You worked in a cafe that had more of a bell shape to it, right?
Exactly.
And they had a rounded, they didn't have the spout. Were you able to do latte art in that cafe?
I was able to pull off maybe an apple or sometimes a heart if I was lucky. The difficult thing is that it's like me trying to paint my most detailed work with a 4-inch brush. It's not the tool of choice. And yes, sometimes you're limited by the tools at hand. And so there are some things that you can work, and you should still, in the art of the pour, no matter what you're pouring out of, you're still trying to get any kind of marbling of the crema and the milk foam together, because it's the marrying of the two that becomes this beautiful entry into your drink. You don't want to steam the milk, have a whole bunch of foam that has become gelled and more solid and separated, and then scrape that off onto your coffee cup. That then becomes like a barrier to the drink, where you're having to get through this snow cap of foam to actually taste the coffee underneath.
Unless, of course, somebody orders it that way, but that's for your regular latte, especially traditional cappuccino even, you're usually making sure that it's not that thick, dry cap on top.
Absolutely.
But to make the point, you can, if you work in a major chain coffee shop, like we both have, there are still ways to make latte art, even if you're using that pitcher. But if you work in a coffee shop where maybe you don't have these pitchers, you could go to the owner, you could go to the person who is in charge and say, hey, what if we got some of these spouted pitchers? All right, so we have two different kinds of pitchers here. We both have our preferences. My preference is here and your preference is here. We'll reveal that at the end. But talk to us about the Europa pitcher. What's different about this pitcher versus these pitchers?
I've come to find that I like the Europa pitchers. They tend to be more expensive, and you don't find them typically in most shops. This is more so the standard, and it works beautifully. And I can use that one a lot for more of the fine detailed. If I'm really trying to get like a detailed Rosetta, for instance, having an even more articulated spout for me, that's like my number 2 brush when I go to paint. It's what I know I can just get in and do the detail and have really beautiful articulation with that. But both sets are really fantastic, and that they can certainly get the job done. The rest is just up to you as the barista.
Exactly. So that's great. So it really is. It's up to the artist. These are great pitchers. These are more expensive, but also great pitchers. This is my favorite. I use this one as my everyday pitcher. This is Jake's everyday pitcher. I have one of these with my name engraved on it. Jake has one of these with his name engraved on it. So we cross over between both of them. This is kind of my go-to for Rosettas, but this is kind of what I use in everyday barista making. And I can do Rosettas with that as well. But that's the difference of the pitchers. Make sure they have a good spout. Make sure it's broad to pull some of that microfoam out and through. You want to capture that when you're making great latte art. And that is an important tool to being a Latte Art Pro.